Hey all, Peter here. Just thought I'd do a video on idolatry and its origins. I've had a bit of time off work, so yeah, I've just been over the last week or so been trying to think as deep as possible into this issue of idolatry, how it came about, the origins of idolatry, why we're so tempted to do idolatry. If you read the Bible in the Old Testament, idolatry just begins out of nowhere, and we don't have any real reference of a lead up to it in the book of Genesis. So basically, what I did was I took it upon myself to do some further research outside of the Bible, um, to just get a bit more of a clearer picture. In fact, some years ago, I did get copies of the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Book of Jasher, and so we know that the Book of Enoch, even the Book of Jubilees, and other books have actually been quoted from the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. So no, I'm not saying we need to treat these texts as with the same level of authority as we do with the canon Bible, but I am saying that these texts should be treated with respect and not just written off as sort of allegory or a story or something like that, because there is pretty clear evidence that the apostles and the people of past took them seriously and actually took them as scripture. So yeah, so basically, when I do my studies and stuff like that, I'm always, I guess, I'm asking the Lord to lead me and guide me into all truth, which is what the Holy Spirit promises that He will if we invite Him, if we want that, and we invite Him to. And that's His role, to lead us and guide us into all truth in our search for Him. And men of God in past times did this, so they searched through these texts, these histories, and so I also did research in archaeological research, etc., etc. And yeah, I've gone down a fair few rabbit holes. But anyway, the idea, just this subject's focusing on idolatry. Now, as you know, the book of Genesis doesn't give us a lot of information up till from Genesis 6 through till 10. Basically, it just says that the sons of God, which most people believe are angelic beings, basically disobeyed God and started to look at human women and procreate with them, and then basically hybrid beings were created, commonly known as Nephilim, and these beings were the origins of the giants. So the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees and the book of Jasher have a lot more to say about this period of time, and the book of Genesis. They have a lot of information, extra information around the book of Genesis, because it's very hard for us Westerners to read this book and really get a full appreciation of the culture of the time, why people did what they did. It's just, that's why we tend to just sort of gloss over it and go, oh, well, it is what it is. But we don't really understand the background, the culture, the reasoning, the mindset behind all these events occurring. It's so foreign to us. So I just thought I'd do a bit of research in it. Now, what we need to understand from the book of Enoch is it talks a lot about these watcher angels. He calls them watchers. So these watcher angels are angels nominated by God, and these are angels that are known as being the sons of God, right? They're creatures that have been created by God, heavenly creatures. And these creatures have all been nominated to basically take care of mankind. They have various areas of responsibility or locations of responsibility. So, but these watcher angels came down, and I've got a few conclusions about these angels, which caused I'm not going to go through this line upon line. We'd be here forever, and it just bore people to tears. But I'm just going to let you know, summarize things, and give you some conclusions that I've come to. So you have to remember, Adam and Eve, God is saying, worship me, like have a relationship with me. There wasn't any mention of any other gods at the time. It was just like, let's have a relationship. We know what happened. He fell, he disobeyed God, etc., etc., and we know the story. But then between that time and the time of the flood, as men began to populate, that's when these watcher angels enter the picture, and they said, well, we are powerful beings, that obviously pride entered into these things. They followed Satan, the common belief is, and they said, these human women are beautiful, and I think I'm a god myself. We are going to rebel against God and not do what he's telling us to do, what we've been instructed to do, and we're going to basically be the gods of these people, and we're going to be their gods, and we are going to teach them everything against God. So, but anyway, what I'd like to say is, what were the abilities? If we're going to talk about idolatry, we have to assume that these human beings who were living 900 years old, there was a long lifespan. They were ultra smart and ultra intelligent, because they were much smarter than us. Even though we've accumulated more knowledge now, I think it's pretty common scientific knowledge that our genetics are depleting, are actually getting worse. But back then, people were very smart, very switched on, and we give them, we have the arrogance, scientists and historians, and have the arrogance to think today that somehow, back then they were so dumb, they were primitive man, they didn't know what they were doing. All they were doing is living in caves, blah, 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 just sort of like as if they're fools, and this is where the whole idea of evolution comes from, but I'm not here to go down that track. So I'm talking to people here who understand and know the Bible, who know the truth, but are needing a little bit more context to solidify, I guess, their belief system, and just have a few questions answered, right? So, but these beings, for them to justify worship, they had to have something worth worshipping, something worth, basically worth worshipping. So we can pretty much assume that they have the ability to shapeshift. In other words, become like a man, look like a man, so appear in the physical realm and look like a man. Do you think a physical human woman is going to want to have, sexual relations with a being which, you can't see, or an odd looking being which is 3 or 4 times the size or whatever? It's just not going to happen. So these creatures must have had the ability to shapeshift into the form of a man. They had the ability to, so therefore we know they have the ability to appear and also disappear. We know from the book of Job that these beings have the ability to affect the weather. They have a limited ability to impact the weather. They must have had the limited ability to impact a woman's fertility. And they had the ability to create war, stir up wars between people, and also influence the outcome of a war, of a conflict. They must have had superior technical knowledge, because we know that they taught people to do various things. They taught various, like the book of Enoch and Jubilees and Joshua talk about what each of these angels had skills in, and they taught mankind various things. So they had superior knowledge and superior skills, and all kinds of things. So they were creatures that could tempt man to worship them, right? So this is basically what the origin of idolatry is. These beings said, okay, I've shown you my ability, shown you what I'm capable of doing. if you worship me, I can give you this, So I can give you fertility, I can give you food, I can impact the weather to make it rain for the crops. I can help you win wars, blah, blah, blah. I can show you superior knowledge, etc., etc. And so this, in my opinion, is what is called is the origin of idolatry. So this is where all the myths come from, where how us in the Western world look back and we think it's all about myth. Oh, these gods and everything, it's myth, and it was like a figment of their imagination, imagining as if these gods were out there. No, I just don't think humans were that gullible. I don't think we were that gullible back then. I think that there must have been a very, very real reason why people decided to go away from the one true God, the invisible God. Now let me just underline that word, invisible. He's an invisible God, the one true God, right? So there must have been a reason for them to go away from the invisible God and then go to the one of these lesser gods who have supernatural abilities over and above a human's ability. So in order to now, what we need to understand about these gods is that they obviously had rebelled against God. They'd been given a judgment that they were going to be destroyed, and that obviously going to, their final domain is going to be hell. So they hate God and they hate people, right? And they want worship. So they want worship. They think, I'm going to try and destroy it. I'm going to get these people to try to worship. I'm going to try to get them to worship me, and I'm going to do everything against what Yahweh wants, the one true God. Now so basically, what these beings do is they want appeasement. If I'm going to give you fertility, I need you to do this. If I'm going to give you rain, I need you to do that. If I'm going to help you to win a war, then I need you to do that. And there are three things that I have written down here that these beings wanted humans to do in order for them to respond to their to their petitions. Number one here, blood sacrifice of children. Sacrifice of children, their own blood. Ritual sex acts. So committing acts of sex outside of the person that God has put them together with, their wife. And the other thing is that these creatures also demanded to have sex with human women. In other words, well, you're going to have to allow me, if you want this community to succeed, you're going to have to give me some of your women. This is me paraphrasing here, right? But I'm saying that these were the outcomes. This is what we see from the biblical record and from the extra biblical records, scriptures, right? Blood sacrifice of children, ritual sex acts, so sex outside of marriage. Priests were involved in this, and sex with human women. Right.